Un film de Lina Wertmüller. Yeah, that sounded terrible, didn't it? Good evening, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City, and tonight we're going to be doing an audio commentary, a 50th anniversary audio commentary for Lina Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi, which is an Italian comedy. Well, actually, more of an Italian satire, a political satire from 1972. And I chose to do this film simply because of the fact that I love both of the actors which headline this movie, which include Giancarlo Giannini as well as Mariangela Melato. And I'm sure you've seen them in certain films, which we will discuss later when we get into this. But I knew I had to do an Italian movie, and so this was basically the number one that shot up on the list. I will be doing another Italian movie on Friday morning at 1 a.m. But otherwise, this was pretty much the number one Italian movie that showed up when I did a search for Italian movies from 1972. This was the one that came up, which was The Seduction of Mimi, directed by Lina Wertmüller. Now, this is not my first rodeo with Miss Wertmüller. Now, to a lot of film historians, Lina Wertmüller was essentially the very first woman nominated for the Best Director Academy Award, which is very, very true. She didn't win, but she was nominated in 1976 for her classic Italian film Seven Beauties, which I have seen before, but I haven't seen it since I was like a teenager, to be perfectly honest. But at any rate, let's not waste any more time. I'm already paused on Un Film de Lina Wertmüller. Now, like I said, if you want to see the movie for free, you can go to that website right there, which is the Cohen Media Group's channel, and you can get, like I said, a free trial going, and you can go ahead and watch the movie through there if you don't want to actually spend money on a rental. Now, and even though this film did get a Blu-ray release, there are no bonus features on that release. But at the same time, which is fine. But at any rate, I think we should go ahead and get started. So I'm paused on Un Film de Lina Wertmüller, the very first shot of The Seduction of Mimi. And we will go ahead and start on 3, 2, 1, and play. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We start out with a lot of whistling here. Yes, a lot of whistling. To kick off The Seduction of Mimi. And you know what? I still hear it. There we go. And the English translation is actually a little off, as in many of these cases and everything. But the title for The Seduction of Mimi is actually more about a man who refuses to shed his pride or whatever. But con Mariangela Melato, yes, Agostino Belli, and we go through our cast here: Luigi De Berti, yeah, and Elena Fiore. Oh, Elena Fiore is going to make quite the impression near the end of this movie. I mean, you'll know it when we get to it. You'll definitely know it when we get to it. But at any rate, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to be meeting our star here very, very soon. But yes, I wanted to double check that. The actual translation of the title, the original Italian title is Mimi Metallurgico Ferito nell'onore, which is basically literally translated as Mimi the metal worker wounded in honor. That's what it essentially means. Yes. Mimi the metal worker wounded in honor. And like I said, this is very much a satire of the Italian politics of the time, and sort of like the Neanderthal the Neanderthal mentality of men among Italian society as well, as we'll soon find out. Lovely music by Piero right here. Now, here we have a bunch of guys in a car, uh, and they look like mafia guys, sort of, and then they get out bullhorns and they throw all these political flyers around to vote for Canamosa. Canamosa is your candidate. I love this introduction to Giancarlo's character right here, where he just says, one of the flyer flies into his face, and he just says, "Oh, son of a bitch!" And we kick off with Giancarlo Giannini's character. Now, I know Giancarlo Giannini primarily. Well, okay, most audiences know Giancarlo, and here he is working in a like a sulfur plant. You know, he's not really high, in terms of career right here because of the politics, and he wants to vote for the communist leader rather than the mafia leader, where they threw all those flyers out and everything. Yeah, politics in this country at this time, of course, was very, very compromised, and so here is. Found a butt. You want to smoke it with me? A great introduction to Giancarlo's character right here. Now, most people know Giancarlo mostly from the James Bond films Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. In fact, his character kind of dies in a very unceremonious way in Quantum of Solace. And of course, Daniel Craig, as James Bond, just like throws him into a dumpster and said, well, he would have been all right. I forget his line, but it was a pretty awful line. And it kind of made his character just so utterly pointless. I was disappointed with how they handled Giancarlo's character in Quantum of Solace. But in truth, I actually know Giancarlo from a American comedy that was shot in Paris, which is American Dreamer, directed by Rick Rosenthal, who also directed Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection. In fact, you can actually see Giancarlo's character right there in the fountain. There's not a picture of him on the back, unfortunately, but he sort of plays. Well, I don't want to give away exactly what he plays, but basically in American Dreamer, JoBeth Williams, in her only starring role, believe it or not, she goes to Paris after she wins a writing contest, and she goes there for 2 weeks, and she ends up getting bumped on the head when she gets mugged, and then a car hits her, and she ends up hitting her head and getting amnesia. Well, and then she starts believing herself to be in a series of romantic thrillers, is like this international detective that knows jujitsu and all this shit. And basically, she thinks that Giancarlo Giannini's character, which is like, a guy who is very much corrupt in terms of French politics and everything. And she tries to track him down and basically get to him, even though to us, he's basically almost like a completely innocent bystander. I mean, it was very much a screwball comedy that a lot of people have forgotten or just haven't seen, but it's actually a great, great comedy. I really love it a lot. In fact, I own the Kino Blu-ray, but I don't own the Kino Blu-ray for the Seduction of Mimi. When I looked this up, I found out, okay, I could rent it, or rent it or watch it for free. I don't have to buy it. And I looked at the Kino Blu-ray, and unfortunately, there are no bonus features. Usually, I mean, Kino is usually pretty good. I mean, they're pretty good about at least putting a commentary on there, but they decided to not put a commentary on this one for some reason. So, like American Dreamer, oddly enough, I mean, American Dreamer doesn't have a commentary on it either, but most Kino releases tend to have, at the very, very least, an audio commentary. Seduction of Mimi, and unfortunately, is not the case. Turn on the waterworks. Yeah, his wife doesn't want to submit during sex, referring to her as acting like a lamb waiting for the slaughter. And as you could tell from that entire sequence about how all these Italian family members are separated by levels and rooms and everything, it's very, very interesting. Like I said, one of the reasons why I was so excited to do the international films this month is to get a window into what life was like back in this particular country in this particular year. And in this case, this is Italy 1972, where, people just tend to argue about politics a lot. But the interesting thing is that Giancarlo's character, who is in fact named Mimi, he is the Mimi of the title. Uh, he he is apolitical. He doesn't care about what people think about about the political corruption and everything, but he does, in fact, vote uh, in secret, thinking that it was going to be kept in secret that he voted for a communist leader. But unfortunately, that's not the case. He ends up getting fired from his job because of that political uh, political vote. That's God knows why. Oh yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, see, didn't you say it was a top secret ballot? And like so you can see all the Russian flags and everything. Now, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. At first, I was a little nervous when I was watching the seduction of Mimi because I was worried about, oh my God, you mean I'm going to have to do a deep dive in understanding the Italian politics of the early 1970s? And then after I read what little there was at IMDb, I thought, you know what, this is absolutely sufficient, and I can go ahead and do this commentary. But like I said, let's go ahead and start with Giancarlo Giannini because he is one of the legends of Italian cinema. And like I said, largely because of American Dreamer, I am such a huge fan of this guy. Even though I've only seen a few other films that he's been in, including the James Bond movies. But Giancarlo Giannini is still with us. He is 80 years old. In fact, he just turned 80 years old on August 1st, born in 1942. He won the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actor for Love and Anarchy, also directed by Lina Wertmüller. That was a year later. Although, interestingly enough, Love and Anarchy was actually shot before Seduction of Mimi. Seduction of Mimi was actually made after Love on Anarchy, but they ended up being released out of order. And like I said, received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for Seven Beauties, which I already mentioned as being Lina Wertmüller's most famous film, which got her an Oscar nomination. Giannini began his career on stage, starring in Franco Zeffirelli's productions of Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream. After appearing predominantly on television throughout the 60s, he had his first lead role in the film Rita the Mosquito, 1965, the first of many collaborations with filmmaker Lina Wertmüller. He rose to international stardom through Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi, Love on Anarchy, Swept Away. Oh, we're going to talk about Swept Away. That's one that needs to be talked about. Culminating in his Oscar-nominating turn in Seven Beauties. So all of these films, when they came out one after the other, all directed by Lina Wertmüller and all starring Giancarlo Giannini. And Seduction of Mimi was the one that really exploded on the international scene, obviously. His other films include The Innocent, 1976, Little Marlene, 1980, New York Stories, 1990, Walk in the Clouds, Man on Fire, and the James Bond films Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. He is also a dubbing artist, contributing voice work to the Italian language versions of dozens of films since the 1960s. He has been the official Italian dubber of Al Pacino since 1975 and has also dubbed Jack Nicholson, Michael Douglas, and Helmut Berger. Wow. So, yeah, he's provided Italian dubbing for a number of big Hollywood stars. And so that's what I'm saying. If you were surprised and thinking that was the first time you ever heard of him was in the James Bond movies, oh, think again. The guy has made a massive, massive career. He made his first film debut in a small bit part in a film in 1965, appeared in supporting roles in Anzio and The Secret of Santa Vittoria, starred in the original version of Swept Away. In 1967, he was a special guest on an episode of Mina's TV show Sabato Sera, and in 1971, he appeared in Something, a television adaptation of H.A. Cronin's novel The Stars Look Down. And so I have seen Seven Beauties before. I saw it in high school, and all I remember, it was very, very disturbing to watch because essentially you saw Giancarlo Giannini about to have sex with this obese female Nazi warden in a concentration camp. That's essentially what the movie is about. Basically, but I haven't seen it since high school, so I'm probably going to end up seeing it in a few years and do a commentary for it. But let me get out of the way what the plot of this movie is. The film is about an Italian everyman who deserts the army during World War II and is then captured by the Germans and sent to a prison camp where he does anything to survive. Through flashbacks, we learn about his family of 7 unattractive sisters, his accidental murder of one sister's lover, his imprisonment in an insane asylum where he rapes a patient, and his volunteering to be a soldier to escape confinement. For her work on the film, Wertmüller became the first woman nominated for the Academy Award for Best Director, a feat not matched again until 1993 when New Zealand filmmaker Jane Campion was nominated for The Piano with Harvey Keitel and Holly Hunter, which I've been meaning to watch again for a while, and I haven't gone back to that, to be perfectly honest. But now we have now. I mean, we've left Sicily, and now we're in Turin, Italy. We're now in Turin, Italy. Now, the only reason why I've heard of Turin in the first place is because that's apparently where the Shroud of Turin is, where the shroud that covered Jesus Christ when he was taken from the cross and whatever, allegedly, even though it's been carbon dated multiple times back to the 8th or 9th century and was probably just a painting of some kind. But that's what Turin is known for, is for shepherding this shroud that supposedly was wrapped around Jesus Christ after the resurrection and everything. But at any rate, so I mean, Giancarlo Giannini is now in trouble again, where he ends up going to Turin. He takes illegal work, uh, uh, to make something, to make ends meet, to have some kind of job. And he ends up stowing away in the back of this truck, thinking that they're going to take this man who's been wounded on the job to the hospital, and instead finds out no, they're just going to basically dump his body. I mean, we're talking about the mafia here. Now, I was actually very impressed by the shot, even though it was probably very easy to do, where he runs across the street and the car comes and he jumps in and they drive off. I mean, I was actually very impressed at the how well that shot was and everything. I overall enjoyed the seduction of Mimi. I mean, this is a very it's because of the fact it's a comedy. Some of the comedy, of course, will naturally not translate to Americans, I think. And watching this film, I said to myself, okay, there are funny moments here. There are moments where I laughed, and were other moments where I laughed, but I wasn't even sure if I was really understanding what was going on in the situation. But largely, I was just very, very amused by Giancarlo Giannini's performance, and he is on fire. I mean, throughout this entire movie, he's on fire. He's not the most likable character. He does very much have his faults and his vices and his his treatment of women in this film is very, very questionable, to say the least. But at the same time, Giancarlo is just such a fun actor that I can't help but be, pun intended, swept away whenever he's on screen just delivering a performance. And in this film, it's no exception. Uh, now, of course, he thinks he's on the verge of death right here, but he figures out a way to fib a little bit to buy some time, and he ends up, as well, like I said with the title before, he does end up in a shop, and he gets good pay and benefits as long as he's joined the quote unquote red communist regime, essentially. Although the tell you the truth, I mean, there's several political factions that are introduced in this movie that I think I the thing is it's just it's hard for me to explain without doing a deep dive. But here again, when I went to IMDb and I noticed that, okay, well, this is just a satire on, all these political factions and the attitudes about them, then I realized, well, I I don't have to go that deep into research about Italian politics. But just look at Giannini right here. He's just like, it's like, whatever. What are you going to do to me? Just, I'll say anything to get out of this. That kind of flippant attitude. But it is weird watching him in this movie because I'm so used to watching him from American Dreamer. But okay, and notice the three dots on the man's face there. Apparently, that this very very small elite that controls the working class and everything. Now, this movie, it plays very oddly today. I mean, especially when you consider all the unions and the union busting going on across the country at the moment, post pandemic. When things are just, we're tired of being crushed by the man and everything financially. And, it's amazing that in a lot of other countries, in most other countries, most people received monthly checks, from the government, but we barely got, three checks. It says a lot about how much the government has disdain for its workers. And so, watching this was a little bit eerie in how not much has changed, at least from one country to another. But like Giannini's character, I'm very much apolitical. And I think that's part of the reason why I was here again swept away by this story and can get behind it as a political satire. I mean, I'm always in the mood for satires, even if I don't understand every single thing that they're attacking. I mean, the truth of the matter is, watching The Seduction of Mimi gave me a more than clear picture of 1970s politics, and with the workforce, and how how everything in the country was set up at the time, what the system was like. So, I mean, we're closing in on the 20-minute mark. We're closing in on the 20-minute mark of The Seduction of Mimi. Now, we're in the next few minutes, we're going to meet our other star of the movie, who I'm very excited to talk about. Oh yeah, buying a pair of underpants is a choice, because everything is a choice right here. But Giannini's just not buying it. He's just not buying it at all. Yeah, I tend to avoid political rallies like the plague. I mean, I am so apolitical. I'm one of those that just believes everything that George Carlin said. And one of the things he did say was, if you vote, you have no right to complain. Because everything that involves politics in my lifetime has been through just arguments and vicious name calling and spitting and everything. Look, I grew up in a household where my mother was a full fledged Republican and my father was a full fledged Democrat. When they argued, it was always about motherfucking politics, and I couldn't stand it. And just after that, I just realized, what? I don't want to be arguing about politics with other people for the rest of my life. So I became apolitical. I do not subscribe to any political party or even any ideology. I ignore politics just as much as I ignore religion. And thus, I think I'm more open to enjoying satires like this, which actually kind of just, take a dump on both fucking sides of the argument. I always get a kick out of that. It's like, nah, you guys can just argue it out. I'm gonna like go over here and just watch a movie or something. But overall, I really like this film. I would probably give it in the neighborhood of like 3.5, 4 out of 5, maybe around there. I was, I mean, mostly because of the fact that I did find moments of the movie very funny, and I'll point them out when I get to them. But mostly it's just because I enjoyed the actors, particularly Giancarlo Giannini. Uh, Carmelo Mardascio is one of us, and he wouldn't be too scared. Yep. Every time you see that 3 dot on the face thing, yeah, it's like, oh shit. You better fall in line, or they're going to, they're going to take care of you. Yep. I'm afraid I just don't know. The skunk never gave any particulars. And see, I mean, that's the thing. Throughout this movie, he just like dodges a lot of political questions, and just, he just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. So literally, it becomes almost like a running gag throughout the movie. He just is like, no, I'm out of it, man. I'm totally out of it. I've always loved that old joke, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Just to meet girls, just to get laid, you know? Now, here we have, there's Giancarlo putting his wedding ring away. Obviously, if he's going to be talking to women here in Turin, he doesn't want anybody to know he's married. And he happens upon this sweater maker in this little market right here. And the lady who's making the sweaters is, in fact, Mariangela Melato. Now, most Western audiences will recognize her, despite her weird black getup in Flash Gordon, which completely covered her hair. But she did, in fact, play in the movie Flash Gordon, and I think that's what most people are aware from her. No, I think that's her most popular role. I think that's her most identified role, to be perfectly honest. Which is a kind of a shame. But I mean, and growing up, I always felt that she was probably just as gorgeous as the other two ladies in that film. And believe me, when you have Ornella Muti in your film, yeah, you got some stiff competition. But look, I always imagined that she was a gorgeous woman underneath all that black getup that she wore in Flash Gordon. And after watching this film and Swept Away, I was absolutely proven right. She is an insanely gorgeous Italian woman, insanely gorgeous. She was born in Milan in 1941, and sadly is no longer with us. She passed away at the age of 71 in 2013. She began her stage career in the 1960s. Her first film role was in Thomas E. Gliel Indominati in 1969, directed by Pupi Avati. She played in many memorable films during the 70s, a period which was considered her golden age. And she received much praise for her roles in the films The Seduction of Mimi, Love and Anarchy, Nada, Swept Away, Toto Moto, Caro Michelle, and Il Gatto in 1978. So she made a lot of big films in 1978, with Seduction of Mimi being the international success that I think brought her to prominence. Mulatto also starred in several English language productions as well, notably Flash Gordon. She died from pancreatic cancer at the age of 71. And if you go to, look online, just type in Mariangela Mulatto and just look at some of the pictures of her online, because she is, oh my God, she is insanely gorgeous. And she was also in a 1971 film called Working Class Goes to Heaven, which sounds like it could be a cool little double feature with this movie. So Seduction of Mimi was the start of a very successful working relationship between Wertmüller, Mulatto, and Giannini that continued with Love and Anarchy. So all three of them came back for Love and Anarchy Well, actually, no. They shot Mimi first, and they returned for Love and Anarchy, in which Mulatto played an anarchist prostitute. Well, now I can't wait to watch it. I'm totally down for Love and Anarchy, so expect the 50th anniversary commentary for that next year. And finally was swept away by An Unusual Destiny in the Blue Sea of August. Now, Mulatto's critically acclaimed comedic performance in this film as a spoiled, unsympathetic aristocrat is one of her more internationally known roles. And so Madonna actually remade the film in 2002, which was directed by her then husband Guy Ritchie. And the movie bombed so badly that it even got Razzie Awards for Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Worst Director. I mean, I don't think it swept the Razzies that year, but man, it won multiple Razzies, even though it starred Madonna and also as her much younger co-star, the son of Giancarlo Giannini. But it was a total failure. Now, let me say that Swept Away, it's known shortened as Swept Away, but the full title is Swept Away by an Unusual Destiny in the Blue Sea of August. Okay, that came out in 1974, again directed by Lina Wertmüller and starring Giancarlo Giannini and Mariangela Melato. Now, it's a romantic adventure comedy drama. Yeah. Written and directed by Lina Wertmüller, follows a wealthy woman whose yachting vacation with friends in the Mediterranean Sea takes an unexpected turn when she and one of the boat's crew are separated from the others and they become stranded on a deserted island. The woman's capitalist beliefs and the man's communist convictions clash, but during their struggle to survive their situation, their social roles are reversed. Swept Away was released to divisive but largely positive reviews and won the 1975 National Board of Review of Motion Pictures Award for Top Foreign Film, and of course it was remade with Madonna. But I saw Swept Away in high school, along with Seven Beauties. Seven Beauties was just very, very hard to watch because of all the concentration camp stuff. I was actually a little disappointed with Swept Away when I ultimately watched it, because part of the reason why I ordered it is because in Leonard Maltin's film guide, he gave it 4 stars. And at one point, I ordered every VHS tape that he gave 4 stars to just because I was interested in watching them. Swept Away was one of those films. I don't think it ages well. That is just me personally. I don't think the sexual politics age well. There's a moment where he actually rapes her and she actually likes it. I mean, it's very, very bizarre. And like I said, it's the sexual politics of the time. Even though it got a unanimous critical reaction, I don't think it would play well for today's audiences unless it was remade with a slightly different tone or anything. I mean, I'd rather watch The Blue Lagoon than Swept Away, to be perfectly honest. And Seven Beauties was, I think, more compelling to watch, even though I cringed a lot of times. I mean, not because of the sexual material, but it was very, very grimy. It was literally like watching either like a women in prison film or one of those things where everything just feels so grimy and icky. And like I said, here in this scene, he tries to rape her again, just like he does in Swept Away. And he says he becomes so overwhelmed, by just wanting her and hungering for her, that he literally just throws her on the ground and starts to sexually assault her. When really, I mean, he was just apparently just so in love at that point that he had to devour her. I mean, this is cringy stuff. I mean, even for 72, this is very cringy stuff. The thing is that there are, I mean, once we get over this one moment in the film, once we get over this one moment in Seduction of Mimi, it's the rest of the movie, I think, is much more digestible. And when I got to it, I said to myself, you know what? It's a good movie. I liked it, but I'm probably never going to see it again. And and at the same time, I just want to like tell people, check out Lina Wertmüller's other films because they were very, very discussed back in the 1970s. If you can take the rape, if you can take the sexual assault and the sexual politics and everything, then I say go for it. Like I said, I think Seven Beauties, I think, is probably maybe the best of all three of them. I would still have to rewatch it, and I probably won't do that for another few years. But these films were much discussed largely because of the fact they were directed by a woman, and they touched upon themes that were very, very taboo at the time. Of course, with a rain shower of satire to cover it up or to cover it and everything. I thought it was women's foolishness, exaggerated sentimental stuff, but now I'm really suffering. Now, see, he's calmed down and everything. He's just like, okay, I'm backpedaling, backpedaling, backpedaling. And she, just basically says, look, I'm not in love with you. So, and she's also a virgin, by the way. I don't know. I forget where exactly she says that she's a virgin. But yeah, evidently she is, very much is. And she said she refuses to make it with a man unless she is in love with him. Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah. Another disbeliever. A virgin. I'm delighted, but didn't you say you were a comrade and oh yeah, this is something that needs to be explained a little bit, but okay, so we're done with Swept Away. Look, just be forewarned when it comes to Lina Wertmüller's other films with Giancarlo Giannini that they deal with some very heavy sexual topics that not everybody, not I don't think Americans are quite ready for that European raw sexuality that Europeans always include in their films, because we still live in a Puritan-esque society, unfortunately, where the fact that we still have an NC-17 rating is all you need to know about American censorship, and particularly when it comes to sex. Because we can have all the violent material in films that we want, but sex, oh no, particularly particularly same-sex relationships and scenes, those always get ignored or dismissed or penalized or punished. And and it just, not much has changed. But back in the early 70s, I mean, at least in the United States, it was it looked like at one point that pornographic film and mainstream film was eventually going to merge and have a few babies of their own, if you know what I'm saying. But that ultimately never happened. But the bottom line is that in the late 60s, early 70s, that sex came out of the closet. And so that many subjects and themes which were completely taboo to filmmakers before, and the Europeans, of course, were much more progressive with this. With the new wave films of the 50s and the 60s, they were always ahead of American cinema, always ahead in that department. Now, this is a cute little scene where they're basically just communicating, at a distance and everything, and you can tell by all the traffic and other distractions that that there is a significant different distance between the two. Mm. And now we have actually a very lovely montage set to music. A little long, perhaps, but I really actually like this little this montage, which bridges the relationship between both Mariangela Melato and Giancarlo Giannini, as he just basically walks around Italy, mostly by himself, sometimes with her, but mostly by himself. And they get to know each other and everything. And despite their differences in politics, Giancarlo Giannini, at the very, very least, is totally smitten with her. And very, very lonely that he's not walking with her, as opposed to when he is walking with her. God, don't you love Mariangella's hair? Oh, it's so wonderful, isn't it? So beautiful. And I really liked a lot of these shots in Turin, Italy, right here. Oh, hey, Dan. Very always nice to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming. Good choice tonight. Not many people talk about this one. That is so bizarre. Maybe it's just because. Is it because of the fact it's directed by a woman? Okay. So let's break this down. Okay, let's just break this down real quick because not a lot of people know that in the 1910s, very much in the late 1910s, that women had actually had more power in Hollywood than men did. At Universal Studios, which was basically the home of the women director, there was even an all-female police force. The highest paid director at the time was a woman, which was Lois Weber. The highest paid screenwriter at the time was a woman, and that was, of course, Frances Marion. And women had so much power and so much choices in how they were making their films. I especially recommend Lois Weber's The Blot, and also The Flapper, starring Olive Thomas, written by Frances Marion, and some of those other films. Those two names right there, Lois Weber and Frances Marion, should be a hell of a lot more well known than Mary Pickford of all people. But at any rate, when women got the right to vote, it essentially killed the female director in Hollywood. That's not a joke. That's absolutely, without a doubt, not a joke. Basically, what happened was a lot of the power, because of the patriarchal society, went back to men. The only job that women got in Hollywood after the 30s was screenwriting. Now, over the course of 50 years, because in the course of 50 years, there were really only two female directors. There was why isn't her name not popping to me right now? The director of Dance Girl Dance. Why is her name not popping to me right now? I'm so sorry. Dorothy Arzner. Yes, Dorothy Arzner. Dorothy Arzner was a woman director who dressed like a man, played by the rules, and actually got a lot of respect from her male contemporaries in Hollywood for her directorial skills. And she directed movies with Katharine Hepburn, Rosalind Russell, and Lucille Ball. Her most famous film being Dance Girl Dance in 1940 with Lucille Ball and Maureen O'Hara. The other major director in the next 50 years after women got the right to vote was Ida Lupino. Now, most people remember Ida Lupino for her acting roles in the 30s and 40s, but it was, in fact, in 1949 when she really started to make her mark as a director. And she actually directed a number of films, including Not Wanted, Never Fear, Woman in Hiding, Outrage, which was one of the first movies to showcase rape, and Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, On the Loose, On Dangerous Ground, The Hitchhiker, which is very famously known as the only film noir at that time directed by a woman. I believe it was in 1,000 Movies You Should See Before You Die. In that book, they have both Dance Girl Dance, directed by Dorothy Arzner, and The Hitchhiker, directed by Ida Lupino. But women directors didn't really come back until the 1970s. I mean, sure, you had a few exceptions in the 60s with like Shirley Clark and her experimental films, but it really wasn't until the 1970s because we had Jane Arden direct The Other Side of the Underneath, which is another film in 1972 that I want to get to eventually. It's getting a Blu-ray release in just another month here. But yeah, and then you have Lina Wertmüller, and then you have the director of Harlan County, USA, was a woman. Her name escapes me at the moment, but she won. Was it Barbara? Oh, man. But she won the Best Documentary Academy Award in 1976. So yeah. Mm-hmm. See, I'm trying to think. The other one was Chantal Akerman. That's the other huge woman filmmaker of the 70s. And she directed this 3-hour movie called Jean Dealman, 23 Quai du Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles. And let me tell you something. We follow a housewife uh, over the course of 3 hours, very little dialogue. It's one of the most riveting movies I've ever seen in my life. That is an absolute masterpiece. If you decide to take that in, where it just showcases a woman and her daily routine and the little changes that she makes along the way. That is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant film. And we also have Joan Micklin Silver, who directed Hester Street. Like I said, it wasn't until the 1970s when women directors came back, where women directors were finally existing again after 50 years of them being practically non-existent. And here, Giancarlo has just said that, he will leave and never see her again if she doesn't, because he's so in love with her, he can't bear the rejection anymore. And she finally submits and says, "I love you too." And they have this very, very passionate embrace right here. They are very good together. I mean, they definitely have a chemistry that they obviously showcased in the other films that Lina Wertmüller directed them in. Yeah, they do have a hell of a chemistry, and they just look great on screen together. Which means that, I mean, the thing is that after Marion Gella leaves for practically the final third, I think some of the what was great about this film kind of just leaves the picture without without uh, without us asking her to leave. But yeah, she's virtually gone throughout the last third of this movie. She does appear at the very end, of course, but like I said, after this whole second act is done and she disappears, we barely see her again. So enjoy Marion Gella Mulatto on screen right here as much as you can. All right. Hey, Dying Breed, how you doing? Hello, Stone. Stop by to show some support. Thank you very much, sir. Hope all is well. All is very, very well. Yeah, we are watching The Seduction of Mimi, starring Giancarlo Giannini and Marion Gella Mulatto, and we are coming up on 44 minutes and 30 seconds. 44 minutes and 30 seconds, and yeah. She's obviously very much entranced by Giancarlo's lovemaking skills, as you can see right here. Now, let's see. Oh, as we established, Giancarlo's character is apolitical. Now, Marion Gella's politics are much more different and complex. She's actually a Trotskyist. Basically, the political ideology and branch of Marxism developed by Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky and some other members of the left opposition and Fourth International, blah, 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 blah. He self-identified as an Orthodox Marxist, a revolutionary Marxist, a Bolshevik Leninist, and a follower of Marx, Engels, and 3L, Vladimir Lenin, Karl Liebknecht, and Rosa Luxemburg. He supported founding a vanguard party of the proletariat, proletarian internationalism, and a dictatorship of the proletariat based on working class self-emancipation and mass democracy. Trotskyists are critical of Stalinism, as they oppose Joseph Stalin's theory of socialism in one country in favor of Trotsky's theory of permanent revolution. Trotskyists can criticize the bureaucracy and anti-democratic current developed in the Soviet Union under Stalin. So basically, politics-wise, the only thing they have in common is that they can't stand the mafia party. Basically, that's all they have in common politically. But of course, here's Giancarlo wearing one of those sweaters that she knitted for him. But obviously he's very much in love with her and everything. Despite the fact that he's still married and his wife is back in Sicily. And the revelation about her that's going to come out a little bit later is going to put Giancarlo into a rage. That's actually very, very funny. I hope she likes the fact that he's wearing one of her sweaters. I really do, but we can't really tell. And of course, right behind her, she has pictures of Lenin. Uh, there's a very funny moment later on when we get to it, which actually one of the funniest in the movie, involving that Lenin portrait. All female staff, so put your mind at rest. So, okay, this is the weird thing about the seduction of Mimi. Even though it was a international success, I mean, it made money. It was, it was hailed by critics. The truth of the matter is, I don't think this movie is remembered as well as it was, 50 years ago in the 1970s when, these actors were at the top of their game, and the director was at the height of her brilliance as a filmmaker. But when I went over to IMDb, you'll be shocked to learn that I only read 11 user reviews. That's it. There are 11 user reviews for the seduction of Mimi. And for the most part, they're all rather mixed. And that's why I thought, this all perfectly sums up everything about this movie that needs to be known. And also how, here again, I mean, everybody's going to have a different reaction to this movie, which in many ways is a strength. But at the same time, I mean, not everybody is going to like it. Not everybody is going to find it amusing. Not everybody is going to find it funny. And not everybody's going to be satisfied at the end of the movie, particularly with all of the, shall we say, questionable sexual antics and everything. But let's look at the IMDb reviews real quick. The first one gave it a 7 out of 10. The honor of a Sicilian metallurgist. In Sicily, the mine worker Carmelo Mimi Mardocio votes for the Communist Party candidate instead of in the Mafia's one, believing that the suffrage is secret. After the elections, he loses his job and cannot find any other job in his village that is controlled by the mobster in charge. He leaves his wife, Rosalia, and his family and travels to Turin expecting to find a job. He finds an illegal position in civil construction that is explored by the mafia, and when a coworker dies in an accident, he finds that the mobsters have dumped his body on the road. However, he does not report the crime to the police and lies to the mobster, telling that he belongs to the family of a powerful mobster. When Mimi witnesses the murder of Vico Tricario, oh yeah, that was we're getting to that. We're getting to that. But for now, just enjoy Marion Gala's legs right here, which are very that definitely light up the room more than the sweaters do. Look at those sweaters. Okay, I'll get back to that in a minute. But the other reviews that are looking at this. Thoughts on Mimi? It shows the outrageous inadequacy of bourgeois democracy to defend the interests of working people. The mafia and its candidates who echo the ideology of fascism in the film represent capitalism as both the fulfillment and the negation of the democratic facade. The lead character's descent into crass opportunism, as well as his sexual aggression, is to be noted, are not rewarded in the film. At the conclusion, he is profoundly alienated in a scene reminiscent of the final cut of Fellini's La Strada, probably some homage here. And this is probably the more dominant politically significant theme. This film attempts a radical critique of the institution of bourgeois marriage through the destructive and artificial role that marriage plays in the film, not only in terms of the patriarchal double standards, but in the institution's incapacity to the most fully satisfy human strivings, female or male. Whatever one can say about this film, I think anyone who sees it in any way as a criticism of communism is misreading the film. Certainly a member of the Italian Communist Party might understandably cringe at a party supporter's sexual aggressiveness, but Mimi is apparently a party supporter in the narrowest sense, only in the sense of voting for the Reds Remember, PCI has long been a sizable and popular party in Italy, and by the end of the film, he has descended to campaigning for a fascistic, mafia-backed candidate, and the attitude of the PCI towards such a character as Mimi is symbolized by his comrades abandoning him in their red sickle and hammer displaying wagon, disgusted at his sexism and misogyny, and his opportunistic supporting of rightist candidates, obviously the final straw. Interestingly, in La Strada, the lead character is much worse in terms of violence and maliciousness, and yet Wertmüller leaves us with less sympathy for Mimi than does Fellini for the lead role in La Strada. She thankfully spared us gratuitous pitying close-ups of Mimi bawling his eyes out. His girlfriend, in turn, is not a communist, i.e. a member of the PCI, as she makes clear, but apparently a former Trotskyite turned quasi-Maoist, who defensively emphasizes her, quote, independence from the party. Trot to Maoist is an unlikely transformation, by the way, since Trots and Maoists are notoriously antipathic to each other, the only thing uniting them being their dislike of the regular Communist Party. Anyway, if this kind of ranty is because I've seen it only once, and those are my thoughts. Yeah, that's a deep dive right there. But it also got an 8 out of 10, Misadventures of Mimi. This is a very Italian and European movie in the sense that it captures the spirit of the times. Both the Italian North-South cultural wars divide and of a particular European concern with the strength of left political and artistic movements and explorations of alternative, non-materialistic lifestyles. All this is shown as experienced by Mimi, a Southern Italian everyman, buffeted by fate. In his role, Giancarlo Giannini once again shows his mastery of the acting craft. As is true for all foreign films, my advice is that you don't know the language of the original, always view the subtitled version so as not to miss the subtleties of the individual performances. Okay, 6 out of 10, good film, but not Wertmüller's best. I'm leaning towards that one, to be perfectly honest. 8 out of 10, you will laugh very hard when the fat lady sings. The Seduction of Mimi. Oh, yeah, and there's a reason why he says the fat lady sings. You'll notice why when we get to the end. 10 out of 10, conjugal codes and double standards. This story is culturally valuable because it depicts a part of the life of one man in a very universal manner. Mimi is every man. He lusts, he is jealous, he is vulnerable, he wants job security, he has morals, and he sometimes compromises them. At the same time, however, Mimi's predicaments are presented in such an exaggerated, humorous manner that they provide relief from the audience's own frustrations. On a more particular level, this film reveals the impact that the mafia had on Italian society at the time. Yet even this is done in so humorous a way as to never seem upsetting. Now, I love this moment. This was a huge laugh for me, where he's hiding underneath the body, and the mob guy just kicks the body off, and he's like, oh no, and now he's begging for his life. He is literally begging for his life at this point. Oh, man. Don't shoot. And then you see the moles, and you know he's going to get it. Oh, no. Oh, no. Just to let everybody know, we are coming up to the halfway mark, of The Seduction of Mimi. We are at 55 minutes and 38 seconds. Coming up on 56 minutes of The Seduction of Mimi. Let's see, what else do we have here? This is an incredible movie. I don't know why they changed it to Seduction of Mimi instead of Metal Worker, because it's about this metal worker dude and how his lust, his ideas about his job and taking care of his kid and buying things for his kid, and his communist lover and her idealistic anti-capitalism, and his real life back in Sicily and his seduction of a Politico's wife to get back at him for cheating with the metal worker's wife, and the mafia always trying to control him. Yeah, basically. The Seduction of Lina Wertmüller. Oh, yes. Okay. The 1972 film captures some of the main features of Italian society at the time: violence, organized crime, capitalist exploitation, the North-South economic gap, corruption, hypocrisy, in a way that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. They gave it an 8 out of 10. It does it in a style that mixes the radical social comments of the directors of the previous generation, like Pasolini, with the best tradition of Italian comedies of morals and characters. Add to that the extraordinary charisma of Giancarlo Giannini, this role that had been refused by several actors, among which Marcello Mastroianni was their first collaboration, and the audacity of the screenwriter directed that I can only imagine facing the chevaliers of political correctness in the film studios of today. The result is a foamy film, which does not show too many signs of erosion, although its age is close to half a century. But Giannini makes a great role here. In a matter of seconds, you can switch from funny comedy to social drama, from passionate lover to self-persiflage. Mariangela Melato, an extremely talented and expressive actress, whom I don't remember seeing in other movies from that period, as his partner. The whole team of actors is very well chosen. The screenplay and directorial approach of Lina Wertmüller combines Italian farce and morality comedy with social media film, adding a dose of boldness and frankness that is present in the Italian cinema of the time, but not necessarily in political movies. Where her peers spoke out angrily, Lina Wertmüller used the acid of satire. Her place among the significant Italian directors of the period is well deserved, and The Seduction of Mimi is one of her films that does not disappoint its viewers today. And finally, the last review, 7 out of 10, a funny, creative, and provocative caricature. Lina Wertmüller packs a lot of exaggeration into her characters and stories. Her actors deliver it too. This film would deserve watching just to admire Giancarlo Giannini and Mariangela Melato. They are infectiously good. What I find detracts a bit from the film and keeps it from being as good as Wertmüller's best films is the mixture of social and personal commentary. It is all jumbled together in a very 1970s anarchic way. Wertmüller mocks all the institutions of authority through the clever use of the same actors in multiple roles, and she mocks Mimi for his self-serving and ever-changing attitudes towards women and marriage. Each of these stand beautifully alone, and each could have made an entire film, but I don't get the point of her mixing the two. Well, probably to expand the audience. Now, yeah, when I first saw this, now this was ridiculous. I mean, I thought, really, we're going to have to resort to this now? Like, well, they're going back to Sicily, and he needs to hide the fact that he has a Trotskyist lover, yeah, basically, and a bastard child. But we will soon find out that he that he's about to be cuckolded very, very soon, and his way of trying to get revenge against his wife may turn off a lot of people. I could see that absolutely, because, like I said, in the second half, Giancarlo's character really does go into a number of different directions, not of which every audience member is going to appreciate or be amused by. Let's put it that way. And I like how he does his mustache here for the latter half of the movie as well. Oh, shit. Now, this is actually a really good dialogue scene between the actor here who plays the head gangster. Let me look him up real quick. And Giancarlo's character. See, this is, I believe, Luigi De Berti, and he was an Italian actor, and he appeared in more than 100 films. Also, Metello, The Working Class Goes to Heaven, ironically enough. Libra, My Love, Wife, Mistress, Last Feelings, The Secret, Magnificat, The Stendhal Syndrome, Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth, I Am Emma, and Einstein. And he is still with us at the age of 82. And this actor who plays, well, the lead gangster right here in this scene is actually Turi Farrow. And he was considered the most important actor in the Sicilian theater post-World War II. He was in a number of films, including A Man for Burning, I Knew Her Well, Rita the Mosquito, Don't Sting the Mosquito, 7x7, Scipio the African, The Case is Closed, Forget It, where he played the chef of prison guards. That was a year before The Seduction of Mimi. But the same year, in 1972, he was also in the Sicilian Checkmate, which is another crime drama film from Italy, as well as Chronicle of a Homicide with Martin Balsam, of all people, from Psycho. Yeah. Unfortunately, most of the other actors I don't really recognize. However, when Agostino, Belli, and Elena Fiore come on screen, I will talk about them as well. Yeah, I'm sorry, I mixed up some of these Italian names. I got to double check the characters. Like, oh yeah, that is them. But yeah, this is Turi Ferro. Yeah, Turi Ferro is Don Calogero, Vico Triarico, and Salvatore Tracarico. That's what I'm saying. Multiple roles here. Though filmed before Love and Anarchy, The Seduction of Mimi did not receive a U.S. release until June of 1974, 2 months after the successful U.S. release of Love and Anarchy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we are past the 1 hour 3 minute mark. 1 hour 3 minute mark, and we have about 49 minutes to go. 49 minutes to go. Pin a few bombs on the anarchists. So he's essentially at the end of the movie. He's going to be doing what the activists in the beginning were doing when they were throwing those political flyers, and he actually submits to the party here. I told you the place needs bosses. We need young people, ones we can trust. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. They're forcing him to become political when he doesn't want to be political. But most of all, he's just despised by the working conditions. Here again, I can see this movie playing for certain audiences now, but I don't know. It doesn't have universal appeal. I don't think this movie does, because, here again, I mean, the more dated aspects I think could be forgivable if you look at this from a historical standpoint. But as a comedy, I only found it sporadically funny, sporadically laugh out loud funny. But I did legitimately laugh out loud several times at the shenanigans that go on in this movie, mostly involving Giancarlo. But like I said, if you're not familiar with these actors or the director, I mean, you may want to start with Love and Anarchy or even Seven Beauties, even though Seven Beauties is a very, very rough watch. I think this movie this movie might be a little bit more audience friendly than Seven Beauties. I don't know, because I mean, you have to ask for a lot for people to watch a concentration camp movie. I mean, you're really asking audiences a lot for that one. And see, I mean, one of the other things I liked watching these international films this month was just checking out what Italy looked like back then. I found it all fascinating. I liked a lot of the location work on this film. I think it does go, at both points of the country, in the north and the south, to give a complete view of what the country looked like back then. I mean, there's a lot of on-location shots. Oh, now here is the wonderful scene where do you want to put Lenin, darling? That's a big fucking picture of Lenin. And he's just like, oh, look at the way he's looking at me. It's like he's criticizing me. He shatters my nerves. Put him out of my sight. Like, does a picture have to be that fucking big? Like, seriously. If only the mafia guys were in that room right now, be like, "Oh, where do you want to put Lennon, darling?" Nowhere. Just put it back in the basement. we can't hang it right now. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If they actually go here to this place and they see the Lenin portrait above the bedroom, and they'll go to him and be like, "Wait a minute, you make love to your wife below this huge picture of Lenin? How dare you!" Oh, yeah, look at Marion Gala here. It's just so beautiful. So beautiful. And here's Giancarlo's wife. Hmm. Yeah, this is Giancarlo's wife that he of course, originally abandoned um, in Sicily. And this actress who plays Rosala Capuzzo in Mardoceo, this actress is named Agostina Belli. She was born in 1949, still with us. She's 73. And she has appeared in more than 50 films since 1968. Her first film was Bandits in Milan. Then she was in films like Safety Catch, Scream of the Demon Lover, The Fifth Chord, The Eroticist, which apparently that came out before The Exorcist, so that's not really a spoof. But The Night of the Devils, Bluebeard, I Kiss the Hand, Revolver, Woman Buried Alive, The Last Snows of Spring, Virility, Ante-Up, Scent of a Woman, the original 1974 version of Scent of a Woman, not the Al Pacino remake. Playing with Fire, The Sex Machine, The Career of a Chambermaid, The Big Operator, The Purple Taxi, Holocaust 2000, Double Murder, and One Out of Two. Her last film was in 2008, Amor che vieni, amor che ve. Yeah, that was her last film in 2008. Very beautiful woman. A very beautiful woman, just like Mariangela Melato. Yeah, Giancarlo Giannini was lucky to have all these gorgeous Italian women be in his films with him. Very super lucky. I'm not coming. Sex is a delicate matter. It may be spiteful, but gossip breeds. Yeah. Like I said, there are some genuinely funny moments here. I mean, even if you are a newcomer to Italian cinema, I think you will laugh at times. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't laugh enough to where it became like one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I mean, like I said, laugh out loud funny, but it's more sporadic than constant. If you're more in tune with the what Italian politics were at the time, you would probably find this very funny. But see, that's the thing. I don't have the virtue of that knowledge. So unfortunately, I'm just watching it as a political satire, and this male Neanderthal way of approaching sexuality and everything, which like stinking half-witted chicken. Now, of course, I mean, because he's saying he's tired, a lot of times now everybody's assuming he's gay, and yes, he is using the F word uh, quite a bit. This insult should be paid for with buckshot. But I'm a civilized man. The way he does his hair right there. Oh God. Well, they need those young leaders. Yeah, I love this shot right here. I love how the shot of how long that street is and the hills over there in the background. Really beautiful shot. And there are a lot of smokers in this movie. There's a lot of cigarette smoking. I remember I went to Romania in the late 1990s, and it just seemed like almost every other Romanian citizen were smoking Winston cigarettes. there were ads for it everywhere. This was, like I said, in 1998, 1999. I was shocked at the post-communist system. I really was. And yeah, like I said, Winston was evidently the cigarette of choice for some reason. I guess. Oh, they're all wearing ties. See, we are now at 1 hour and 12 minutes, 1 hour, 12 minutes, 30 seconds. We got about 40 minutes to go, 40 minutes to go in The Seduction of Me. It's a little long. I do think it's a little long for the, for all the points it really wants to make. Oh, look at Marion Gella in the sweater or quilt or whatever she has over her head here. It's really, there's the big portrait of Lenin. Yep. He is look like he's judging you. He's looking in that direction. Look at that. And they all drink the tea at the same time. Metal worker, automobile, wife, child, mistress. Yeah, now he's a real man. Perfection. If I remembered that quote, I would have included that before the commentary, because I always choose a quote from the movie, but I couldn't think of one this time. But I should have went with that one. That's really the quote of the whole movie right there. Highly confidential. Yeah. Yeah, in the middle of it's. I love that zoom shot in on the car. It's like, yeah, they're in the middle of the desert now. Sowing your wild oats. Yes. So, yeah, and going back to Agostino Belli, because we're going to go back to her in a minute here. Let's see. So, Scent of a Woman, Career of a Chambermaid, for which she received a special David D. Donatello Award. In the 1970s, Belli enjoyed a period of strong popularity, performing in small productions and comedies of somewhat dubious value, but of great commercial success from the 1980s onward. She reduced the quantity of her appearances, and she was married to actor Fred Robson. Okay. Now, there's one more actor that we need to talk about when she comes, and believe me, she is going to make a massive impression. Let's put it that way. She's going to make a very massive impression in the third act of this movie. But here, I just think it's a little bit stretched here in the second act. I really do think it is. Sorry if I'm going silent for a minute, folks, but like I said, this movie is a bit of a stretch, and until the other actress comes on board, I don't have much else to say, but I'm going to have to dig it here a little bit. There was one review I wanted to quote real quick, because I don't think Roger Ebert did a review on this movie, or Gene Siskel for that matter. Excuse me. There is a Blu-ray review. They gave it 3 stars and a half. Like I said, the Kino Blu-ray doesn't have many extras, but from Casey Broadwater, written in 2012. With a string of lauded films in the 1970s, the always controversial Lina Wertmüller took the Commedia all'Italiana in a distinctly anarcha-feminist direction, furthering the cinematic social consciousness of post-war pink neo-realism. Directors like Vittorio De Sica and Mario Monticelli. What Wertmüller's satires from this period slice through the braided cord of patriarchy, class, and Italian politics. Of these, Swept Away and Seven Beauties have gained the most international attention. For the latter, Wertmüller secured the distinction of being the first ever female filmmaker nominated for a Best Director Oscar. But her three previous films are just as comedically incisive. Kino Lorber has produced new Blu-ray editions of The Seduction of Mimi, Love and Anarchy, and All Screwed Up, each of which presents a different facet of Wertmüller's anti-status quo ideology. Now, in this review, the assessment at the end was basically this. The Seduction of Mimi was sometimes overlooked as a warm-up to Swept Away, a film that deals more forcefully with the overlap of politics and gender, but it's a very sharp satire in its own right, skewering certain patriarchal attitudes still present during Italy's Cultural Revolution, and still around now, unfortunately. The film's Blu-ray presentation isn't quite up to the high standards that we expect from Kino. This goes for all three of Kino's Wertmüller releases this month, but some slight compression noise artifacting is no reason not to add Mimi to your collection if you're a fan of Italian cinema. Recommended. Now, Peter Hansen over at Every 70s Movie is a bit more critical here. Bold, political, and satirical, the 70s movies of Italian director Lina Wertmüller can be thrilling from an intellectual perspective, challenging the viewer with philosophical and socio-economic ideas that are presented with overwhelming passion. When Wertmüller's stuff clicks, watching her movies is like listening to an inspired orator held forth on something crucially important. The flip side is that when Wertmüller's stuff doesn't click, a screaming headache is never far behind. Take, for example, The Seduction of Mimi, in which nearly every sentence and visual flourish is delivered with either an actual exclamation point or a metaphorical one. Combined with the repulsive behavior patterns of the film's protagonist, yeah, we're not done yet. I mean, we already see him try to rape a woman. Well, just wait. Wertmüller's histrionic presentation makes The Seduction of Mimi's a chore to watch, even though the film is executed with the director's usual imagination and skill. I can definitely see where he's coming from. Wertmüller's go-to leading man, Giancarlo Giannini, stars as Carmelo, a small-town laborer known colloquially by his nickname Mimi. In what Wertmüller presumably envisioned as a major comic flourish, Mimi is asked to vote for a mafia-backed candidate in a rigged election, but then votes for the candidate he actually wants, a radical communist, because he was promised the ballots were secret. When the truth comes out, Mimi becomes a target for mafia reprisal, so he skips town, leaving his wife behind. Mimi becomes a target for mafia reprisal, falls for a radical activist and visits her day after day until she succumbs to his charms. They move in together, and she becomes pregnant. But then Mimi gets word that he must return to his hometown and see his estranged wife. The gist apparently is to explore complex intersections of female empowerment, male identity, personal responsibility, and political idealism. Because amid all the political stuff, a major subplot emerges once Mimi discovers that his wife was unfaithful. Never mind the fact that he abandoned her, and never mind the fact that he started a family with another woman. The climax of the picture involves an enraged Mimi trying to murder his wife because of the quote-unquote shame she has brought upon him. That's pretty much what the third act of this movie is. And yeah, he's getting very, very rough with his wife at this point. So much so, just wait for it. Just wait for it. He took me to the pictures to see Bel Antonio. Oh no, I admitted it. That you feel that punch, and look at the reaction on her face for some dickhead in a uniform. He suits himself, the asshole. And then this is what brings Giancarlo to confess that he has been seeing a woman of his own who he has a love child with, that he met in, of course, Turin, Italy. And we make love day and night because we like it. I'm not going to say the F word. I'm not going to say the F word in this case. You know, I don't care how many times he uses it. You bastard! And of course, here she comes running with a knife, screaming like. Yeah, talk about very hypocritical. I mean, you cheated on your wife in Turin, but then when she cheats, oh no, 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 no. She deserves so much worse. She deserves so much worse than that. A bastard, it'll stay. But mine will be called Mardocio, and you'll be a laughing stock. And yeah, so uh he continues here. Maybe it's an Italian thing and maybe it's a political thing, but this plot element doesn't translate well because Mimi comes across as a Neanderthal with monstrous double standards. That is true. As to whether this unpleasant turn diminishes the validity of the film's political elements, I plead ignorance. It could well be that Wertmüller threaded the narrative needle in some way I am not sophisticated enough to perceive, forming a sly satire of one political ideology versus another through the prism of male female friction. All I know is that while I was watching The Seduction of Mimi, I didn't care that I felt like I was missing something because I wanted the characters to stop screaming at each other. Oh well, in an unlikely turn of events, the picture was adapted for American audiences, becoming the underwhelming Richard Pryor comedy Which Way Is Up? And yes, that is very, very true. I was going to mention that eventually over the course of this commentary. This was actually remade in the States as Which Way Is Up? Now, I have never seen the film. It's directed by Michael Schultz, who also directed Cooley High. And yes, it is a remake of the 1972 Italian comedy, The Seduction of Mimi. Richard Pryor plays three roles: an orange picker who has two women at the same time, the orange picker's father, and a reverend who gets the orange picker's wife pregnant. So, like Coming to America, Richard Pryor has multiple roles in this film. It was written by Carl Gottlieb of Jaws fame, as well as Cecil Brown, and it also stars Lynette McKee and Margaret Avery. Tim Thomerson, in one of his first films, as a tour guide, and TV Guide rated Which Way Is Up 1 out of 5 stars. Oh, and wrote that Pryor plays his character as unlikable, making the film unfunny. I can actually see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the movie was released by Universal Pictures in 1977, and obviously it is not considered one of Richard Pryor's best movies. Needless to say, I think most people would say, no, check out Lina Wertmüller's Seduction of Mimi instead. Check this one out instead. Then Which Way Is Up? And soon, yeah, this mafia guy who's been walking around and watching Giancarlo and protecting him, rather, he's just kind of a nuisance. He's like, no, 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 I don't need anything. Go away, go away. But here we have the wife of the man that slept with his wife. And his idea of revenge is basically to sleep with his wife. But as you can see, she's rather rotund, a little obese here. She's got a giant mole on the right side of her face, which is unmistakable. I mean, it looks more like a wart, if you ask me. But I mean, it looks like a giant wart that obviously she never bothered on removing, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I found it a little distracting at first, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, yeah, but she's obese. She has 5 children, and Giancarlo Giannini, going on in, coming on like a playboy, is going to seduce her and eventually get in bed with her in probably the most unforgettable shot in the whole movie. And we are going to get to it when we get to it. But the actress right here who plays the wife that he is going to seduce right here, Her name is Elena Fiore. She was an Italian film actress, best known for the Lina Wertmüller films. Born in Naples, Fiore debuted in 1972 as Amalia Finocchiaro in this film, an overweight, middle-aged woman full of sexual desires in Lina Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi. After similar roles in Love and Anarchy, Seven Beauties, Neapolitan Mystery, and The Marquis of Grillo, she retired from acting in the early 1980s. And let's see what else here. I know I saw something else on her. So she was in a number of Lina Wertmüller's films as well. Actually, that's the thing. She only made 10 movies. She was only in 10 movies throughout her career. The Treasure of San Gennaro, The Seduction of Mimi, Bella Rica Live Defetto Fisico Circa Anima Gemella, 1973. Love and Anarchy, The Funny Face of the Godfather, I Setta Magnifici Cornuti, where she plays a hooker, Seven Beauties, La Prima Nata Danazza as the Countess, Atrocious Tales of Love and Death, and 1981 was her last film with Il Marchese del Grillo. And I wanted to look up, what is this Funny Face of the Godfather movie? What the hell? There's actually a picture of somebody that actually kind of looks like Brando, but I don't think it is. What the hell is this? Well, I know the Cinema Snob covered it a while back, but there's nothing else on it. I have no idea what this is, but I just saw the title for it. I'm like, what? Yeah. The Funny Face of the Godfather. I don't know what the hell that is, but yeah, that's one of the only of the 10 films that she made. I'm not budging till you give me a time and place. Like he's absolutely determined to seduce and sleep with this woman. This love can't be. Even with the giant wart on her face, he's still going in for the kill. He is still absolutely going in for the kill. 4 o'clock tomorrow at the Church of Saint Nicolo. Oh yeah, my darling. Look at Giancarlo. He's actually going ahead with this nonsense. I mean, if I spurned you, he took the flower of my youth and virtue, trampled it, and spat on it. Oh no! I was a mere girl of 18, and he took advantage of that. He'd been transferred to my town. He dishonored me. I was a hot-blooded girl. It's and obviously she's still very much a hot-blooded woman. Obviously. And Giancarlo is just listening intently the whole time. Oh, look at this. Like he's got his arm up above her and everything. It's just, he is not backing down. He is literally not backing down at all. He's more of a scoundrel than ever. Oh, like the guy in front of you. This is a great pullback shot right here. I don't know where any of these places are in Italy, but man, it just, you know, you look at shots like this and you think, man, I would go and love to visit Italy. Yeah. I've been to Italy before. I've actually been to Venice when I was in the Navy, but I didn't get a chance to ride a gondola because, wouldn't you know, the sailors I was with said, oh, it'd be too gay. And unfortunately, we had a buddy system, ridiculous buddy system that had to keep us together all the time. So never rode a gondola, but I wanted to. Even if it was alone, I wouldn't have cared, but I didn't do it. Forgive me, Amalia. It was just a moment of weakness. And we cut to this woman with all this hair. Wow. So we are approximately 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 20 seconds. 1 hour, 31 minutes, 20 seconds into The Seduction of Mimi. We have approximately 21 minutes left to go. So we're coming up here on the third act, which is going to be bigger than you can imagine. In fact, if there's anything that anybody remembers about the seduction of Mimi, is what Elena Fior does in these final moments. Oh, man. When the record's over, it's our last goodbye. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be your last goodbye. Nope. They look like they just had a lovely wine, lovely lunch. Oh, you're killing me. Like, let's see how he smells her. he hits the radio to keep playing and everything. Oh God. Those are black hairs coming out of that mole? Oh my God. Yeah, I think it's just a giant mole, but like I said, it looks like a giant wart also. Oh God. Just trying to get her into the damn bed is a chore. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh God. Like, go away. You're crazy. Yeah, he is. Oh. Just wait for it, ladies and gentlemen. It is coming. It is coming. This scene just definitely explodes with nudity that I was not expecting, to be perfectly honest. See the religious portrait up above the bed there? Just trying to get her into bed is just a struggle. Oh, man. Oh, God, man. Oh, no. Oh, man. This is... Okay, now finally she has an advantage to get away from him. You really want it so much. Or am I so beautiful? Oh, more than any other. God. And she's giving in. She's giving away. Have your way with me. And now we have this very, very funny undressing scene, which is unlike any undressing scene I've ever seen before in the history of film. It's like this may rival like It Happened One Night in terms of undressing scenes. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Here we have a BBW woman getting fully naked on screen. For 1972, this probably opened up a lot of eyes in the theater. And now we have her seeing her underwear being taken off multiple times by Giancarlo, blinking his eyes and everything, but he's still going to go down. Now, in the trivia section in IMDb, there's only one bit of trivia for the seduction of Mimi. Only one bit of trivia, and I'm going to read it just here in a second as we see her getting on the bed very, very slowly with her, basically her ass right in the camera. Basically. Let's see here. Yeah. So, and I'm going to start reading this as soon as she starts to get on the bed. But check this out right here. He's getting into the bed. He's like a little afraid. Little afraid of this. Oh, this shot right here. This shot right here. Now, apparently, this is not the same actress. They had to bring in a butt double, and so we see apparently another woman's massive, massive ass slowly making her way in the bed with Giancarlo. Now, Elena Fiore's butt in the famous betrayal scene is not hers, but that of a stand-in. Lina Wertmüller herself declared this in one of her memoirs. The actress had a butt that was just too small. Yeah, apparently she had a butt that was just too small. So they brought in another actress to do this nude scene. God. Some armpit right there, hair, very, very natural. As and after they've already apparently made mad, passionate love to each other, here he is being literally choked in her embrace. Say you love me. Just say you love me. I'm happy. Oh, she's definitely happy, all right. She is more than happy. You're so handsome. You're lovely. Yeah, and you're also choking him to death. I love you so much, I'm choking you. Tell me you love me. I like hearing you say it. All right, so we are an hour and 39 minutes. 1 hour, 39 minutes into the seduction of Mimi. We got just under 14 minutes left to go. Now, look at Giancarlo's hair on a hornet's nest right now. Now that I've given in, are you joking? No. But now we've reached this point. The moment of truth has come. Oh, yeah, baby. I've led you on. No, it's not true. Your husband got my wife pregnant, and I must have revenge. Damn! Let's just start slapping the shit out of him. But she's going to pull back, as we're going to see right here. She is about to pull back, and they're going to come to a little bit of an arrangement, which I don't think anybody expected to see this coming, whether you saw this in 72 or whether you're watching it now. I don't think anybody saw this twist coming. They just start talking casually for a little bit. Shut up, you wretch, you scoundrel. You rotten, filthy scoundrel. I'm a metal worker, Amelia. I've become civilized. I hope you pay. So, but this is not going to be the last that we see of her. Now, after the longest while, because she left about halfway through the movie, we are finally seeing Marion Gella Melato again, as she is coming to visit Mimi at his work. Oh, we're so close to the very end here. We're only 11 minutes away. Before we get to the final moments, let me just say real quick in terms of commentaries coming up. We will be doing on Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. We'll be doing a commentary for Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, which will be my visit to the country of Japan. That will be Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. On Thursday morning at 1 a.m., we're going to be doing a commentary for The Way of the Dragon, directed by Bruce Lee. The legendary Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon. We will be doing a commentary for his film The Way of the Dragon. And finally, on Friday morning at 1 a.m., we will be doing a Bernardo Bertolucci movie, our last international film for the month, Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man. Now, this is not a 50th anniversary commentary. This will actually be a LAD company commentary because they did, in fact, distribute this movie in 1982. So this will be my next LAD company commentary coming Friday morning at 1 a.m. And finally, on for October, we're going to be doing the horror movies of 1972. The first one we're going to do is 50th anniversary commentary on Saturday night, October 1st, for The Legend of Boggy Creek, written and directed by Charles B. Pierce. And immediately after that, this will be a double feature for Saturday night. After Legend of Boggy Creek, we'll be doing a commentary for The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which Charles B. Pierce wrote and directed in 1977. That will be Saturday night at 9 p.m. for both features. Hope to see you all as we kick off the horror movies of 1972. So yeah, they decide to go even further. They decide to keep meeting once a month and having sex until she gets pregnant again. So her sixth child is going to be with Mimi so she can get even more revenge against her husband than he does. What must be done will be done. And just goes down on her. Just totally goes down on her. Now, okay, so we've reached pretty much the penultimate scene in the movie. As we come down, we are at 9 minutes left. 9 minutes left to go for the seduction of Mimi. Yeah, just look at the background. Look at the Italian shots in the background there. It's just so beautiful. And considering we go both north and south in this movie, I mean, for an Italian movie from 1972, this takes you all over the place. It really does. There's the mafia man that's still keeping an eye on him. You can tell his boss how civilized people fix things. Civilized? You? Because you have a car? I just love his mustache. I mean, he kept his mustache on there like that for the whole time, basically. See, there's his wife. She's pregnant now. Every detail's been planned. Oh, they've been planned all right. They've definitely been planned. As Mimi is actually going to confront the man who slept with his wife and got her pregnant. There she is right there. Miss Mardocchio, my respects. Oh, we need to go to the church. Yes, I'm not. The time for lawyers is over. This child bears my name, doesn't he? Then everyone should see the nice big family we are. That's funny, in American Dreamer, which, like I said, is the movie that I love, Giancarlo Giannini from, he says the time for games is over. He does say that at one point in the movie. Sergeant Amilcare Finocchio. Yeah, may I have a word with you? So his wife is there, his mistress is there, and they're about to make a scene in front of the church here, which here again, I didn't expect any of this to come about. But, it won't take a minute. Just sort things out in the daylight. Yeah, exactly. Here in front of friends like gentlemen. Yeah. Seeing that, as everyone knows, my wife's child is yours. Yeah, and that the one your wife's having is mine. And his reaction is priceless. If you agree once she's delivered, we could swap. You take yours, I take mine. That'll settle all this confusion about honor and betrayal. Let's set things straight. As they say, to each his own bastard. What's he talking about? You cuckolded me, so I cuckolded you. Yes. Like I said, a lot of cuckolding in this movie. A lot of cuckolding. You're a rotten scoundrel, and so is he, a pair of filthy assholes. Oh, no. He brings out a gun, though. I'll kill you. Look at Giancarlo right here. It's just great. Great performance by Giancarlo Giannini here. I mean, the best thing in the movie, really, is Giancarlo. And I think he makes the movie worth seeing just for his performance. Even though he doesn't play the most likable of characters, of course. We don't have much empathy for the guy at the end, to be perfectly honest. And so, yeah, here's the gun. So he's given the gun that the mafia guy had, and he's going to be going to prison for his murder right there. The other man did it, not him. Yeah, there were people that actually saw who actually shot him, but, you know, he's going to be the one to take the fall. Oh, and the Pope just happens to have the same three moles on his face, designating the mafia elite. Oh, yeah. Foolishness, I said. Like playing war for getting, it's a game and getting hurt. Yep. And here he is celebrating Christmas in prison for the assassination, even though he didn't do it. But, you know, here again, we still don't have much sympathy for him at the end, even after serving a prison sentence. You'll be simple like a child and understand the truth. But wouldn't you know, the head of the mafia party has just, well, he doesn't say bail him out of prison. He just says, you know, he reduced his sentence and that he's looking forward to him coming back to work. And this time, doing exactly what they were doing in the beginning of the film, which was hanging out flyers for the next mafia president, basically. Your life starts now, idiot. The time is ripe for taking change. I need respected men, and that's what you are. We'll talk when you get out. Oh, he says he won't come, but he knows he has to come. He's going to need money, and with his record, I mean, who else is going to hire him, right? So he's kind of screwed. He's pretty much really screwed. And there's Marion Gella Melato and his child waiting for him. But unfortunately, this reunion is going to be very, very, very brief. Look how beautiful she is. Oh, man. Yeah, sadly, this reunion is going to be all too brief because what happens, but his other kids come into the frame. Papa! Papa! He wants to be back in prison now. Oh, no! Smothered with kids. Smothered with kids. Oh, man. Workers, vote for Vito Ticario! And so we're back where we started, but now he's the one handing out the flyers with the bullhorn and being, you know, basically joining the corrupt government, the corrupt party in power. But there's Mariangela Mulatto with the wind beating against her hair, and this is going to end. Yep. Unfortunately, the difference in politics is just too great now. And so They leave. That's funny that Mariangela Mulatto has the same name as the actress who plays the other wife that he sleeps with, but that is really bizarre. They're all cousins. You don't realize they're all cousins. Yeah, still making up a lot of excuses. And yeah, we literally end where we started. So that was Lina Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi, 1972. As we leave Giancarlo Giannini out in the middle of nowhere, he collapses. We see her point of view driving away and everything. And he's still there. Like I said, this movie is a tad long, but man, there are some funny moments. There are some definitely some funny moments. And like I said, if you want the movie on Blu-ray, Kino Lorber does in fact have it. So here we go. Fini, the end of The Seduction of Mimi. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me tonight. Just remember, this week I will be doing commentaries for Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, The Way of the Dragon, directed by Bruce Lee, and Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. And finally, last but not least, on Saturday night will be a double feature of Charles B. Pierce's The Legend of Boggy Creek and The Town That Dreaded Sundown. You all have a great evening.